Welcome to the Blend Podcast.
Grab yourself a coffee, are you ready? Enjoy and make it last. If you're out on the town or just hanging around, it's the Blend Campfire Podcast. We'll sit around the fire telling stories with a marker in our hands. Sipping it slow, hope you're ready to go. It's the Blend Campfire Podcast.
Well, welcome to the Blend Podcast. It's good to be back with you guys again to get into the frame of this. A slightly different mode this time for me because we're doing this online as recording. I've not done that before, so a first for me as well. But I'd like to welcome Terri McLean to the podcast. Welcome, Terri.
I hope you're well.
Good to good to have you. And again, like before, I don't really know you. You were suggested by our staff in Dundee as an interesting character who comes to the coffee shop, and hopefully in this conversation we'll get to know you better and insight into your world. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's very strange. It's very strange being recommended for things like this. I was a bit nervous about it, even though I do stuff publicly online. But it's just a case of how it is.
Yeah, and I'll also say the audio quality will be different again because this is online. We've recorded in Blend before as well, but yeah, so we'll just bear with us if that's what we're gonna get, But anyway, Terri, how do you like your coffee? Like, how did you discover Blend?
I kind of travelled. I've been to like most coffee shops in Dundee specifically since I've moved up here. But as soon as Blend opened, there was a thing in, I think it was the paper, about a new coffee shop opening up, and I was a bit curious about it, and one of my friends went there, so then I decided to go there, and then I ended up basically making that my second home for the last however long it's been open. I've been a very regular customer there because I genuinely enjoy the atmosphere, and the coffee is great, and I've got a lot of friends that now frequent there. I now know a lot of the regulars that go there as well, which just makes it a much more relaxed place to go and draw or chat with people or socialize with new regulars. It's always good.
No, that's great. Well, welcome, and we're glad we've discovered us, and we're just glad to have discovered you.
Yeah.
It's is there a coffee you like? Is there a way?
I always go for either a caramel or mint oat milk latte.
Oh, okay, right.
That's kind of my go-to.
That's your go-to. So, are you from Dundee? Give us some of your journey. Where are you from? What do you do?
So originally I'm from Mayfield, which is in the Midlothian, just south of Edinburgh. Then I moved to the Borders when I went to college. Moved with my parents down to somewhere called Earlston, which is right next to the Borders.
Okay.
Then after that I moved up to Dundee, and I've been up in Dundee for almost 15 years now.
Okay. Doing what? What do you do in Dundee?
I moved up here initially for university. I was a product design student. I've done a bunch of different other art-based courses, but the product design I went into prosthetics. I was trying to learn and develop prosthetics. My honours degree was for making prosthetics through 3D printing and using different materials for that process because it's used in other countries. And I finished that course, and I've stayed up in Dundee since because I genuinely like the town. There's a lot of creative things that happen here. There's a lot of really nice places that that exist in Dundee. So I've not really got any plan on leaving anytime soon. I've got a lot of ventures planned for Dundee, but that's to come in the future.
It's genuinely a city that does that. I mean, I came and studied architecture in Dundee, 30 years ago, and it's just got a special place for me. It's a city that just took me in and didn't have half the pretensions of a lot of other cities. It almost doesn't have to justify itself. No one thinks highly of it other than the people who are there. So it's great. You're like, well, fine.
It's very strange, because it tends to have a very people from not from Dundee think very low of Dundee. But for myself, one of the main reasons I like it is it's a student town. It's very evident. But that means every year you get a completely fresh new group of people coming in because students are leaving and students are coming in. So you get this constant new creative ideas and new interesting things happening, and it just makes it very, very interesting.
It's quite a nomadic town that way. Yeah, like it's constantly picking up travelers and people moving on, and So I was actually quite excited and nervous about this conversation because you're in a world that I know so little about. I mean, you are gamer, streamer,
Maybe a little obvious.
I won't even know half the terminology of the worlds you're in, and I've got to. I realize that I'm also a very curious person, so I'm fascinated by these worlds that people are in, and that I mean know how to. So bear with me if I come across one or another. I tend to just. I am probably equivalent to a boomer in this country, even though I'm in my mid-40s. But I grew up in India in the 70s, so contextually, I tell people that my first telephone number had 3 digits. So that was my town. We had 3 digits, and so that's how old I've probably come across to even my business partners in Glen that I am from another generation. And so what is it? What is it you do now? What are you involved in?
As my hobby, I stream on Twitch. It's a live broadcasting service where people can watch you. You can play games, like computer games. You can do chatting. I have done a bunch of charity events through this and through my community because it's all I guess it's basically a community-driven project where people can optionally support you, where you can they can donate money to you or they can subscribe to you, and they get like little perks. Like for example, from me, I've done all of my own artwork for my channel, all of my emotes, which are basically like emojis. I've designed for specifically my channel, but when they subscribe, they can use that across the whole platform for anyone else they watch. So they get like a little reward like that, or we can hit certain sub goals, which is just people subscribing to you. And at the moment, I'm doing decent because I took a long hiatus because of a bunch of different situations, but I'm back on the horse and I've been streaming again and I'm really enjoying it. I've got that drive back to do more. But I personally started it because a situation happened which caused me to be very isolated, and I thought that this as a creative outlet for me was a great idea. So I was like, oh, I know a couple of people that are doing this. I want to try it. I'll give a shot at it. And I started off with like this horrific setup with a camera that probably done 420p. It looked like something out of
like I currently have.
No, yours is better quality than what I had, and I started it with a really terrible mic, but it was all about like the interaction. What the best thing I love about what I currently have on Twitch is the community I have they're an absolute bunch of trolls. They love winding me up. They like it. They like just having fun. But they are also incredibly wholesome. And
how many in this community?
So at the moment, I'm currently sitting at 964 followers. I'm almost at 1,000, which is like a big deal. I never thought anything like this would happen, but
that's 1,000 people though who are watching you, listening to you all the time.
On average, I have about 20 to 30 viewers, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're looking at Twitch as a platform, it's actually a lot. It's within like the top 0.5% of Twitch, because the people who are incredibly successful on Twitch garner Sorry, my cat has decided that she's going to climb on the keyboard.
It's like you're talking. Why am I not the center?
Yeah, why am I not the center of attention? This is Emo. She is a
Emo.
very adorable cat. Half the reason people watch my channel is because I give her treats and things. It's not for me, it's for the cat, and I'm fully aware of that.
Isn't that the case? Yeah.
Yeah, but most of the people that are really successful, they sit in like 60,000 people watching them at one time. But the reason that I really like Twitch is because it's live broadcast and it's genuine. The original, like with me starting streaming, I was actually guilt tripped by one of the communities that I'm a part of. He's a streamer called Goobers515, and he does a charity stream every year called Metal Meal Meltdown, which is where you cook food, make an idiot of yourself, and raise money for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. And one year I was watching him and I was like, I would love to get involved with this. And he just turned around and went, do it. Just do it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll get round to it. And then the following year, he was like, you're back here. Get started streaming. We're going to be doing the event again. And I'm like, oh, right. So I started. And I done really well on my first thing. My first like charity stream, I ended up raising like $500 because I had really good support.
Yeah. So these are what just strangers putting in money, saying,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I put in forfeits, for example. Like I've currently got a weird goal up at the moment because people wanted to help me with a personal situation. So instead of them just giving me money, I was like, I want to give you something back. So I'm doing a bunch of like art projects and things like that. But for example, I've got like Bean Boozled, which are all in horrific flavors. Like some of them are really spicy, or some of them are coconut or spoiled milk. So when people donate like £20 or something, I have to eat one of them on camera, because people like doing stuff like that for me. But charity has become such a big part of my streaming like adventure because I love that idea of being able to give back.
So can I pull that up? I mean, it's I'm a father and grandfather, and this whole sort of streaming world. You have this image of sort of I don't know, either young kid sitting in a room geeking out, or just older dudes, geeking out, but it seems to be far richer a community than that. I mean, who's the demographic? Like, who are the people that you're interacting with?
So, because it's like a natural interaction between myself and the people that watch me, it tends to garner people that are within like sort of my age bracket or my demographic, which is like 18 plus. I normally have people between 25. Some of the viewers that I've got are like 40, 45, and they're all just really they're really nice people. They're from everywhere around the world. Like I met my partner through streaming because they started watching me, but they live in Canada, so I'm saving to go to Canada at the moment. But I met them through streaming because they interacted with my chat, and we just started chatting on different platforms, and it sort of developed from there.
And that's, again, it's an interesting sort of evolution of relationship connections of I remember my parents finding it strange to pick up a phone and speak to someone like that they couldn't speak, and then suddenly 3 generations on, you're having relationships with someone in Canada, it's that you haven't met, and there's no physical interaction, or no, it's completely electronic, and it's a real change, of our expectation and what we do. So what do you get and what do you not get? Like what's on streaming that you get that you wouldn't get in a normal relationship, and vice versa?
So obviously it's a very difficult thing with it being a long distance relationship, but because of things like Discord and other platforms, it's very easy to communicate. We chat on Messenger, pretty much every day. Like video call and things like that, so we still get to interact with each other like in real time. But obviously there's not the thing of like, if they're ill, I can't exactly help them, vice versa when I'm ill. So it makes things a little bit awkward when it comes to trying to support each other, but it does. I've personally felt it's opened up this really large trust of communication, because we have to trust each other, because there's such a huge difference, and the only interaction we get is like through the thing. We have to trust each other, and it's been working. I've been with them for over a year now. Met them near the start of all the COVID stuff that happened, so it's weird, because I reckon that if I was in another relationship, because of the lockdown anyway, it would have maybe progressed in a similar manner, because we were in lockdown. We weren't allowed to socialize and things like that anyway, so
it made no difference because you were online
already locked down. So
like, how was your lockdown? I mean, did lockdown make any change to your life, or was that,
So my lockdown, initially I had to be very careful, because they weren't sure whether my medical stuff would be affected by it, because I've got a few medical conditions that technically make me immunosuppressant. So they were like, you might be at risk, we're not sure, but I'm a care worker. So because of that, that really quickly got flipped, and they were like, yeah, we need care workers. We're really struggling for care workers. So I maybe spent the first month like everyone else, and then after that I was just working constantly. I was doing so much care work. I was always out having to get to work. Nothing much changed for me other than what I could do after work. Like when Blend was closed, I couldn't go for a coffee after my shift. And that's where a lot of my social interactions happen, is in Blend, because I'm always there and I know a lot of people there, or it's my meeting place. So
is that where you come up for air as such? Is it
essentially? Yeah. It's a very difficult one, but I think I was in I wouldn't say a unique position, but because I was a care worker, I just had to keep working, so it didn't affect me as much as others, which I'm kind of grateful for. I feel sorry for people that have been affected much more by it.
So then, how do you balance this sort of online world and your sort of physical world? Is there a balance? Is there, because there's almost a preference sometimes to just, okay, with this online world you can control. You're in charge when you're on, when you're off, all that sort of stuff.
It's an interesting question. I personally feel like I act the same on and off camera, because I like having a genuine line of communication with people. So like if I'm not feeling great and I'm on stream, I'll be like, hey guys, I'm a little bit low energy today. I hope that's okay. And people are like, yeah, I've got a really supportive community. Like I took a good couple of months hiatus because of mental health stuff that kicked up because of a previous situation. And even on my Discord, which is like my social network, I've got a Discord for my streams. They were all really supportive, and they were all like, don't worry, don't rush yourself back. We know that you need to try and take care of yourself. And that genuinely helped a lot. I had a lot of support that I just didn't think I would have face to face with people, because it's hard. It was, well, especially the last couple of years, it's been very hard to have that face to face interaction. So it's so
interesting as because you're actually describing a depth to the relationship that there's a presumption that online is shallow and it's inhumane in a sense that that trust is difficult to build, or the sort of social skills, and yet actually what you're saying, describing is actually people did care, and there was actually a deeper sense of connection than sometimes maybe in a physical relationship where someone has to phone or pick up or turn up somewhere. there was maybe
Yeah, no,
yeah.
it's very true. Like a few of the people that are supporters of me are um physical friends. A couple of them are people that I used to study with. A few of them are the people that I grew up with, but they support me and we can get much better communications with each other. Like, for example, I stream with a couple of them frequently. They are actually like one of my friends, G Man. I've recently done my own sort of like podcast thing with him because he's been my friend for like 20 years. So we've known each other for a very long time and we're just doing like Scottish banter basically. It's just me and him because we've been friends for so long.
Yeah.
We have that connection, and we are now just like when we sit on stream, we act like ourselves, and people love it.
I realized actually just when I was looking into this that is there a different culture if you're say a gamer against being a streamer against being I don't know maybe other subcultures that are there differences or is it just one?
No, there is a lot of different types of streamers. Like when I'm going over to Canada, I'm hoping to do IRL streams where I
What is that?
record. That is where I basically stream while I'm on the go in Canada, so I can show them what Canada's like. For people that can't go there, I'll be like, "Hey, look, we're currently at wherever, and we're doing this, and I'll be doing it live." So then they can essentially experience it with me. Which I know that some people have a weird thing with because they're like, "So you're just sitting with your phone in front of you? Doesn't that take you out the moment?" Not really, because if I feel like I'm making a little bit their lives a little bit happier just by being me and connecting with them. Because some people that are incredibly anxious can only communicate via the streams. And I feel that's so important, especially with mental health nowadays. I have done a lot of, I have helped a few people with situations that they've had because if someone says they have a problem, I'll be like, private message me after the stream. I will talk to you and I will try and help because that's just my nature. And people really seem to respond to that really well because that's just how I am. They know that that's how I am. I don't try and take advantage. I would like to grow in numbers, but I don't want to lose that personal touch. It's probably the overall thing with it.
And how do you balance this world being healthy for you against being unhealthy for you? Like you seem to be in a good zone, but I'm trying to think of other people who maybe have got friends, family, or that they're either concerned for, and you're like, actually, be careful of these dangers. And then there's other places saying, no, be released into this. What's your advice and all that?
So I am a huge advocate for if you have any sort of mental health issue or anything like that, talk about it. It can even talk to someone that you feel that you can open up to, because just opening that line of communication is incredibly hard for people. I have been that line of communication for people where I've went, I can't personally help you, but I can listen and I can direct you in the right way to people that can actually help. For example, on my Discord, I have a full channel that is just dedicated to helplines for everywhere around the world. So if people are struggling, it's pinned and it's so they can notice it. And it's something that I more than happily talk about. There's a few people that I've had to do that with. They've came in and we've had a really rough day, and I'm like, hey, I've got some help on my site. Have a look at it, and if you want to just sit here and relax and chill out with me, and I'll be playing like a relaxing game, or I'll be playing a game with friends. I guess it's like the energy that I put into it helps them just have a better time, because a few of them were having really rough times and they sat and watched the stream and they messaged me afterward going, you completely boosted my mood because you're just there enjoying yourself, and that makes me feel so much better. I'm like, good. I know it's like a weird proxy, but it makes a difference, and I believe that fact.
And I think that's part of the interesting thing, that as we realize that the world has become more isolating, Actually, maybe what's happened is the ecosystem have changed in relationships. People have moved maybe from physical, pubs have disappeared.
Yeah.
So maybe coffee shops have sort of filled in some of those gaps of relationships. And then if culturally we've sort of become more, bring it to me, press a button and delivery turns up, then we still then come into these spaces of saying, actually, we stream, we play games, or we interact. I love that you've also then channeled this community into charity work, and raising money, which is something you just don't hear about, gamers just seem like drop out, it's all this sort of stuff, whereas actually these healthy things. So how did that come about? Like, and how does that work? How does it work for you?
So, for example, with the Metal Me Meltdown things, I incentivize donations. So, for example, as I said, with the beans, I would eat them and it would be like a lucky draw if it was a good or a bad one. This year, I did push it a little too far because I decided to dip our Ghost Reaper chili in citric acid.
Oh my goodness.
And that made me a little ill, but I did raise a good amount of money for charity. So it was it was an experience.
Oh, dear. My son did that years ago, and I don't think he ever.
No, I'm never doing that again. No, that was, and earlier, the start of last year, I was invited to a group of Scottish streamers. We have now dubbed the Brew Crew, and we done charity work for Get Well Gamers UK, which were a charity organisation that do entertainment systems and stuff for hospitals, portable ones, so they can go between the wards, and it's like DVD players and consoles and things like that. So like kids that are having to stay there for a while have something to do. And we ended up doing like a full 24 hours live as our stretch goal, and we absolutely knocked it out of the park. I think we raised over £4,000.
Wow.
Which is between like 6 of us. Like it's ridiculous because we all of the people that were involved had incredibly generous communities. Like this would be nothing without the support of the people that are there. And the crazy thing about it is it's all voluntary. They can watch for free. What'll happen is Twitch will sometimes drop ads and things like that. And we get a very small amount of the ad revenue, and that's fine. I'm not really into it to make a living. If it gets to that point, it'd be great, because then it means I could push more into my medical design stuff that I want to do. But yeah, this has been an interesting dynamic, because everyone's just voluntarily going like, hey, it's £5 a month, here you go, you get about £2.50, £3 of it, but that's fine, because the Twitch as a company take a percentage of the subscription, so that's their profit margin. But it's all elective, and it's the weirdest thing. You think people doing this off their own back, because I'm like, I'm just an idiot online. I'm a Scottish person that plays games, has fun, and you guys are supporting this, even when it's for charity stuff. I'm like, you guys are blowing it out of the water, because it always incredibly humbles me when I see like people from my community donate. Or even like one of the times I was one of my friends wasn't feeling very great, so I was like, right, I'm going to end stream and pass you over to one of my friends. They're not having a great day, say hello, be friendly, cheer them up. And then my community, just off their own back, started donating to them and giving them subscriptions and like just lots of different things. And I'm like, I didn't even prompt that. That's just the nature of the people that follow me, and it boggles my mind, and it makes me very happy.
It's such an altruistic influencing rather than a narcissistic influence. Like I think there's a space to, like, when you, I think Instagram and even Twitter, the sort of narcissistic spaces that we've come into, where like, look at me, and that I get a sense cannot be as healthy as it should be. Whereas if it's in this altruistic space where you think, well, actually, I'm a channel. and there's a responsibility between me and the people I'm in my community. There's then far healthier conversations that can happen. Yeah.
I think that's the good thing about it, is because it's live. You're getting that actual connection. It's not curated content. For things like Instagram and YouTube, it's all edited, so you're showing your best self.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're streaming, for people that don't act natural, they get incredible burnout like instantly, because they're pretending to be someone for 3 to 6 hours a day or something like that, and that will wipe you out. Whereas because of the way that I'm now doing it, after my hiatus, I'm now just like, I'm streaming when I feel comfortable to do so, and people know that, and I'm chatting with them, and like they're trolling me, having fun, but it's just all for it's entertainment for them. I have a lot of interesting things integrated into my stream that startle me and entertain them, like loud noises that they donate a small amount of money and it scares the absolute bejesus out of me. And they adore it, and I'm just like, if that is making you smile, I'm more than happy to go through that.
So what are your own personal rules then in this? Like what do you set any
So my rules are quite I wouldn't say brash, but don't be a dick in any context. That is literally what it is. Anyone can come into the stream. I do tend to have it as like an older audience because we're all Scottish. We've got the banter. It's sometimes a lot of profanity, but it's just
this one's family friendly, but yeah,
it's not quite family friendly all the time, but it's never like directed anger or anything like that. It's like, oh, I'm frustrated at the game, but I'm having fun with it. But mine's is just like, treat people with respect. Do not start an argument in the chat, and don't be a bigot, basically. Because I've had people jump into my channel and try and do that. They've jumped in and tried to cause an issue, and I'm a very like LGBTQ friendly channel. I've had people come out in my channel and basically say, hey, this is how I identify, and I'm like, amazing, I love it, thank you for sharing. And they're like, I don't feel safe saying anywhere but here, but thank you for being the safe space. And if I can make people more comfortable to do that sort of stuff, then that makes me incredibly happy, because I know it's not easy. In some homes, it's just not an easy thing to happen. If I can create that space, that's perfect for me. I'm more than happy to be that sort of catalyst for them.
I think just in another chat I had, this idea of the safe space is actually, I think, it's such a key part of where I think our culture is trying to get to as well. Like, where are, first of all, our safe spaces, and then how do we create those safe spaces? And I know, Blend, that was one of our core spaces, of like our core sort of reasons for being, is like, what is that safe space that allows the nomad, the campfire space that we can all come from our different journeys and just share stories and be there for an evening if that's what it is, or travel, and I think actually that is something that businesses and not just business, the culture will need to start framing out, saying, actually, to not see it as sort of, oh, this is gaming world or non-gaming world, or this is a coffee shop, but actually these are the safe spaces that we are generating, whether it's a business or whether it's a running club.
I 100% agree. Like, Blend as a hub is such a good safe space, because I know people from every walk of life in Blend that are regulars, because it doesn't matter where you're from, how you identify, as long as you are not causing an issue, you are welcome. Absolutely. All the staff are amazing. Like, good friends. They all know me because I'm just apparently like that. But I love Blend as a social hub. When I'm like, even when I'm meeting new people, I will go to Blend to meet them, because it is a safe space for me. I feel comfortable there, and like my anxiety doesn't kick up as much. So I feel far more able to chat and be relaxed when I'm in blend. So it just makes it much better.
I'll take it slightly differently here. I was speaking to a friend of mine and he said, "Oh, you got to ask this guy about PC mastery."
Oh, right. Okay.
I don't know anything about it. I've been told, like, "Oh, ask about PC mastery." So tell me about this.
Right. So there's apparently, in some cases, there's elitism with PC gaming, because PC gaming can be a lot more powerful than, like, graphically and performance-wise than consoles for like PlayStation and Xbox. They can't compare to an incredibly pricey PC. I genuinely don't care.
Too even are you?
So what it is I play PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Like the Nintendo Switch is one of my favorites because it's got games like Zelda. I'm a huge Legend of Zelda fan. I've got lots of tattoos from Legend of Zelda and things like that. But the whole PC Master Race thing is just an elitism, and it annoys me because they're like, yes, my computer can do 800 frames, and I'm like, and it probably cost you about £4,000. No, I'm just not interested. My computer was £1,500, which is very pricey. But that was a couple of years ago, and I'm streaming and running from one PC, and I've not had to upgrade yet. I will soon, but I've not dropped £4,000 on getting a really shiny, super like amazing PC, because I'm like, that's a lot of money for one thing, just so things can look a bit nicer. And you're like, no, that's it's not worth it.
So if someone gave you £1 million for one issue currently in Scotland, or the community, and where would you put that £1 million?
I would put a lot of the money towards Sick Kids in Edinburgh specifically, because I was a very clumsy child. I spent most of my childhood there with broken arms and hands and stuff. And I would want to be able to like support, like a lot of the money would go to that. I've got my own business endeavor that's going to happen at some point, but that would be something that I'd invest in over time. If I just got like what was it, $1 million, I would spread it between a bunch of charities. I would make family comfortable, but mostly it would be like the charity stuff, because that's like a huge thing. If I could just turn around to Get Well Gamers and go, here's £100,000, I would just be like, there you go, have it, because I know it's going to help other people, and that would be ridiculous. Because any other charities, just mention them so that people can go look for them. Get Well Gamers is a good one. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is an American-based but worldwide organization that helps a lot of kids with cancer or any illness like that. A couple of years back, they cured Bubble Boy and Bubble Boy syndrome, which is where you're allergic to oxygen, basically. And they literally turned around with the research and released it. They didn't ask, they didn't keep a monopoly on it. They just went, here, this is how you fix this. Because they're a charity organization, they want everyone to have free access to things like this. I also done one for what was it called? Hope at Home, which was COVID relief. When COVID started, we did a small charity stream for that. They are, again, really important, especially nowadays, because this whole situation is just going to become like a norm, because it's just the way it seems to be progressing. So I'm more, I would love to support things like that, just to make sure that, like, if there's any advancement, just to help with things like that. Like, also the Tort Centre, that is in Dundee. That's the one for prosthetics. I would help them with their research department, because they're doing some amazing things, because it's all students as well.
That's interesting. You mentioned about it, because my son spent 6 months in Edinburgh Sick Kids needing surgery, and then his postop was at the Thought Centre in Dundee. So both of those were close to our heart, and how important they were for his recovery and surgery. So yeah, absolutely, and I love the prosthetic side as well. I love to think that in this gaming world, etc., that there are so many people with these like talents or 3D printers or things that can be resolved because of a community, because of these connections. The thing like, here's a problem I'm trying to solve. Hey guys, what do you think? And
that's it's a huge thing. Like I don't know, I didn't know how to use the current streaming software that I have because I changed to a different program, and I was like, hey guys, can I get some help? And then a couple of my community members went, oh yeah, here, help with this, and then just like sent me a bunch of references, and I was like, it would have taken me days to find this information, but
yeah,
the support that you get from like these different communities, small or large, in most cases is ridiculous, because people from everywhere around the world, different walks of life, different everything, and they're just, mostly in my experience, they've been great. When you get to huge, large numbers, good people start to become like much rarer, because percentile-wise, it's
harder to hear the voice, isn't it?
That's it.
There's more noise in the bigger group, and this is fascinating, Terri. Thank you. And I just realized, like, we used to talk when we were developing Blend early days, we were just talking about how do we dig these sort of watering holes so that we can just see what animals come out of the forest,
Yeah.
Rather than, just not to sort of say, oh, this is for giraffe type of thing, but sort of say, hey, just dig the watering hole. And what's been fascinating for us is to realize, the different communities that have come out, the different people that have come out of the woodwork in a sense, and we get to meet them and interact them. And I think what we've come to realize as well is actually, like, in Blend we talk about we're not a coffee business, we're a people business that sells coffee.
So true.
Thank you. But I think that's, in a sense, like you say, this community isn't a streaming community; it's a community. It's a people. It's a space first that people are finding in interacting, and then they game or they stream or they do the thing that brings the connection. The lubricant, as that field of interaction.
That's a very interesting way of putting it. Like, for me, I hope that the game's secondary. The game isn't really, like, when I'm playing games, it's not really the game can be interesting. It's something that I could be passionate about. I'll get really excited about it. Or if I'm playing with people, it's like the interactions in the game, but it's still secondary to people chatting with me, because I try and interact with chat as much as I can. If people type, I will try and respond. I have like really bad dyslexia, so sometimes reading gets a little bit difficult, but I try. Also try to read usernames. They come in all shapes and sizes, and I'm like, correct me if I'm pronouncing this wrong.
No. So, again, how do you get into this? How do you get, like, where can I start? If I wanted to start, I don't know what, I want to get involved and see what it is. Where is a good place to start?
Something that it's incredibly easy to set up, and you would be surprised at how much things like podcasts and that actually do. For example, Dungeons and Dragons. People will play Dungeons and Dragons on stream and make it like a performance, and it does ludicrously well. So you could literally create an account on Twitch and just click that go live button and just start doing what you're doing now, and people might turn up. You can publicize it on things like Instagram and other social platforms, and some people just come past you. They just like, oh look, this came up in my recommended or something like that. It's like a natural.
Has it got like a search engine? Like if I said, oh, I'm interested in books on Azerbaijan, say, or whatever, like, is there an inroad sort of like I can go, here's my interest? I can do that, or
like one of the biggest sections on Twitch is just chatting, which is where people are like just chatting. The other one is IRL streaming or painting, anything creative. They've got an art and creative directory. Specific games, if you're really into like old retro games like Legend of Zelda on the NES or Mario, like you can search all these things up specifically. Because it primarily is a gaming platform, but it does diversify into a bunch of different topics.
It's people's space again,
Yeah, like one of the people that I know, they're a fairly big creator, but they are they live in Japan, and they IRL stream going around Japan because they're like, not everyone can experience it, so I'm going to experience it with them. And I'm like, that's very cool. That's their full-time job, is literally going around Japan to show up people that never been there. And it's such a weird thing. You get to see the culture and you get to see all the cool little bits and bobs, but it's a very human experience. And I adore that about the platform so much.
No, it's that. Well, Terry, this has been really interesting. I mean, like I said, I was a bit nervous when I started because I know nothing about this world, and but you know, it's fascinating to look into it, and you know, congratulations yourself, and in terms of money that you're raising, the charity side of it, I think that's very inspiring to see, and also just recognize it's not just you know, a geek space, that it's actually a real space, and really, and can be, and such a healthy space as well. You know, really appreciate you taking the time. How can people connect with you? Where, like, if they, you know, where's the best place to?
So, over all of my social networks, I've managed to grab the one name, which I'm very proud of because that doesn't happen often. It is Kitosan, KHITOSAN.
Put it in the show notes. Yeah.
And it is over everything: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I've got it like over everything. I'm doing podcasts as well now. That I've started.
And what's the podcast called? Or
so I've got two podcasts that I've started because I'm overly ambitious. One of them is called The Effort Adjustment, which is a guest style a podcast where I talk about people's moments where they go, you know what, I'm doing this for myself. So people can normalize that moment where you go, no, this is for me. I'm doing it because that's not really spoken about too much. So that's what I like to explore on that one. But the other one is with my friend Gman542 Gaming. That's his tag. He is a good friend of mine. We do one called Anecdotal Evidence. The first episode of that went up 2 days ago. But that is literally us recapping. It's quite well. I called it Anecdotal Evidence also for the fact that he's a paramedic, so it's also A&E.
Good,
because I like wordplay. So, but that's our experiences of growing up together, because we are very different people, but we have remained solid friends the whole time, and we have got up to some really dumb things that have happened with us, and it's just really fun because apparently we had good chemistry, because he was who I done my first podcast with, and people were like, we want more of this, and I was like, cool, I'll see if he's up for it, and he was, so we've been doing more of that. But if you want to check any of them out, I can link them all through to you, so you can.
If you send me something, I can put that.
I'll just send you my link tree because that's got everything on it as a list. Just so you don't have to muck about with a bunch of different links. But no, this was very fun. I hope.
I hope to meet you at some point. You know.
Definitely.
I will pop into the shop so that I get to meet. You know, to be great, and you know, thank you for just bearing with my probably stupid or baseline questions of this life, but really, you know, proud to hear what you're up to, and thank you for being part of the Glen community, and you know, long may this continue. But thank you again.
I really appreciate you being invited in.